Hello, Papercut here. Welcome back to AoE4 School, where we break down the theory and the concepts behind this game to better understand it so we can be better at it, better at thinking through it, and thus playing it. So within the game of Age of Empires 4, there are 4 ages you can play through. Starting in the Dark Age, you then pick a landmark to proceed to Feudal, then Castle, then Imperial. In the average game of AoE 4, people try to exit the Dark Age as fast as possible. Most build orders you can find help you play a Civ. Mostly are just trying to get you out of the Dark Age as fast and efficiently as possible. Today's video is going to explore the Dark Age gameplay in AoE 4 to understand the following. First, why do most players try to get out of the Dark Age ASAP? 2, why do some Civs play the Dark Age? And 3, what goal should you have if you want to play the Dark Age? Let's go. Why players leave the Dark Age? In general, there isn't much to be gained by staying in the Dark Age, and a lot to lose if you don't play it correctly. In the Dark Age, your only military options are a tower or building spearmen, with some civs such as English, Mongol, Japanese having different Dark Age military options. As you can see, you have no real way of beating your opponent, only doing damage or slowing your opponent down. On the other hand, Feudal Age provides you with more military options with ranged and cavalry, a way to win the game with getting siege engineering through your blacksmith and building rams, as well as more economic upgrades so you can improve your eco. So if you stay in the Dark Age and your opponent quickly gets to Feudal, they will have a huge advantage over you very quickly. Archers easily stop both spearmen and villagers building towers, and cavalry allow you to quickly raid your opponent. The last thing to consider is resource use. If you want to be aggressive in the Dark Age, you have to spend resources, like 100 wood for a tower, or 150 wood on a barracks, and then food and wood on spearmen. That not only delays your Feudal Age, but you also lose resources as your villagers who would be gathering resources are either building a barracks or building a tower across the map. This also changes your scouting. A normal scouting pattern has you maximize your sheep gathering by going to the middle, side, and back to base, then circling to your opponent. For a rush to be effective, though, every second matters, so you need to send your scouts straight to the enemy base to identify resources, then back to quickly drop off sheep. This leads to the potential of your opponent getting more sheep than you. The last thing you also need to consider is macro. Build orders often create really clean villager splits to add to Feudal quickly. To find the Dark Age requires you to be on the fly, adjust your villager placements to get the resources to rush, then go Feudal. Don't get me wrong, you could develop a clean build order for that, but the nature of an aggressive attack dictates that you respond as you notice need. If you build a spearman to rush and deny gold, but notice your opponent has a goal at the other side of their base, it makes sense to quickly build a second spearman to block that gold and maintain your attack on the resources. You see this a lot on water maps, where players share the water in the middle of a map. Both players will send spears, and becomes a battle of who stops making spearmen first, and then goes Feudal, and what they sacrifice to do so. So why do some civs play the Dark Age? Some civs that play the Dark Age do it for a few reasons. First, they have bonuses that encourage that choice. This is best seen with the Mongols and English. Mongols are able to double produce units with stone, allowing them to make more units than their opponent in Dark Age, with less resources. So there's no real way for the opponent to match them militarily without going deeper into their own resources, leaving the opponent with 2 options. Either go into a resource deficit, or not be able to stop the Mongols from having a villager place a tower, usually on their gold. The Mongols also get resources for burning opponents' buildings, so destroying the mining camp on the gold is an immediate resource boom for Mongols. The Mongol strategy is also heavily based on a light aggression to protect booming, either a castle rush for extra gold from castle landmark, or setting up trade with the silver tree. So investing in Dark Age to tower opponents' resources, slowing down their opening and forcing them to respond to the tower before pushing out, only helps the Mongols. The time that takes is used by the Mongols to then get resources, that then leads them to beat their opponents with a greater resource bank. English have early men-at-arms, which are hard to defeat with spears and allows them to shut down early gold. But in reality, the Dark Age start you will see the most from English is a villager rush. This is because the English villagers attack with a bow, making them the only ranged unit in Feudal besides the Mongol Khan. The strategy is for the English to rush 5 villagers to the opponent's gold, shoot them off of it, then mine the gold for themselves with those villagers. It is an extremely all-in strategy, as they lose a lot of resources moving across the map, and if the opponent is able to work around it, they will most likely lose from the deficit in resources. The reason why the English would even consider doing this play leads directly to our second reason to play in the Dark Age, which is reason number 2. The value of throwing your opponent off their build order and forcing them to adapt is more valuable than the resources spent doing it. Pretty much every player has a build order they are trying to execute. Then, after the build, they have a plan that they want to execute from that build order. What a Dark Age rush allows you to do then is throw them off their rhythm. This can lead to an opponent messing up their macro, overreacting, giving you space and time to either boom, or allows you to stay aggressive and start them with resources. Often players who rarely see tower rushes will struggle to respond correctly, and even if they end up pushing you back, their mental is shook enough that they continue to make mistakes as the game goes on. The value of this is hard to measure, but if pulled off well, even a soft Dark Age rush can reap large rewards. This leads us to our third part of the video. Let's talk about, if you want to play the Dark Age, the goals you need to have and the steps you need to take. Generally, any civ can tower rush using the following eco splits. Have 5 of your starting villas go wood. You need enough wood to get a barracks, at least 1 unit, a spear or a men at arms depending on your civ, and then enough wood to cover your house and a mining camp. Once you get your first unit out, you leave 3 on wood and move 2 to gold to start aging up. The whole time you rally sheep to get food. The whole time you rally your TC to food, such as sheep. Your scout then needs to do a close loop to get sheep for your villas and then go straight to your opponent to scout resources so the units waste no time when trying to get to the gold, the resource you're usually trying to stop. At this point, a judgment call comes in. You either, 1, go a soft rush and just send 1 spear. This gets them off the gold at least. 2, send a villager and build a tower on their gold, ensuring they can't fast castle, get upgrades, straight out of the Dark Age, and they have to deal with that tower. Or 3, go more all in and build more spearmen, maybe 1 to 2 more. These spears are sent to gold mines near your opponent to ensure they cannot get gold anywhere. You have to decide what's worth and what you want to risk. Now the goals of playing the Dark Age. Your first goal is to ensure that you never hurt villager production. Dark Age Rush should not come at the expense of the villagers. That hurts your economy too much and negates the value you're trying to gain. Next, you must force your opponent off a resource, usually gold, and break their build order, making them react in the way they're not used to. Next goal, be careful with your unit. If you make 1 spear, even 2 spears, it cannot die to TC fire. That is a huge waste. Be willing to rotate your unit to nearby resources to see if your opponent has snuck out of their base. It can also be cheeky to hide that unit near the next set of resources your opponent needs, such as deer. So when they send their villas out, they get ambushed and resources are delayed. Lastly, make sure you get to Feudal in a reasonable time. Once you've decided you're no longer making units and you have enough way to get a mining camp, you should immediately macro to get to Feudal by splitting villas between food and gold like you would in a normal opening. It will take time, and the first 2 times you try to do it, you'll usually mess up. My suggestion, if you really want to get good at Dark Age, practice doing it against a AI in a skirmish, and once you feel like you have it down, give it a go in a game. I'm telling you, people will not expect it. Overall, Dark Age Rush is a nice thing to have in your tool belt, and it's something that maybe as a boom civ or a slower tempo civ, it's nice to bust down against more aggressive civ that doesn't expect you to come at them early. That's it for the Dark Age. I hope this video was helpful, both in understanding the theory around Dark Age, the risk and rewards, as well as how you can take part in fighting in it if you so want to. Please like and subscribe to help out my channel, and reach out if you're interested in private coaching. My Discord description will be below the video. And of course, as always, good luck on your games.